Chapter 28, Absolution. Holovan. Haida is confused, unable to see the events as the Watcher does. Most of the words and phrases the Yazata use confuse her, and she understands them little, despite Hoyle's trying to speak in a dialect that is very similar to the prominent human language of the time period. What is a Sarai? And who has become one? She asks. With his magic, Hoyle shows the human images of the ancient past. During this time in mankind's infancy, the Yazata moved freely throughout their villages. The two races cooperated peacefully, and the Yazata were able to teach the humans about agriculture, religion, and building a society and culture. The beauty of the Yazata was enthralling to the humans, and they fawned over them greatly. Many of the Yazata also became attracted to their human admirers, and as a result, physical unions were formed. Many of our brethren took human mates, and they in turn reared offspring, Hoyles explains over the continuing images. These offspring were neither fully human nor fully divine. The unique blending of the races gifted these beings with a raw power that was so great that many of the Yazata feared them. The Creator ordered these Nephilim to be destroyed, and rather than kill their children, nearly all of the Yazatan fathers became Grigori traitors and took their mortal families into hiding. The descendants of the Nephilim that survived became powerful men that were renowned and honored by their peers. With each generation, the Nephilim became more and more human, and it became difficult to trace their ancestry by appearance alone. As such, the task forces of Seraphim that were organized to exterminate the Nephilim hybrids became less successful over time, and many slipped through the cracks of time. Any human that is a part of this lineage can still tap into the power of the Nephilim, but it is difficult and requires specialized and intensive training. Like what Enkidu has been going through, Haida says. Hoyles nods. Once a human descended from the Nephilim has awakened that power, they become known as a Sarai. That power is what both General Mikhail and myself have been trying to draw out of Enkidu, since it was discovered that he was of the lineage of the Nephilim. That is the reason they became your students? She looks over at Adonai, and then back to Hoyles. You were trying to create Sarai? Over 7 generations ago, Enkidu's ancestor was a powerful Yazatan Seraphim. His name was Reznel, and he was a member of the 9th Choir. When the Vanir learned of Reznel mating with a human woman, they executed him on the spot, and he was never given a chance to warn his family, Hoyle says sadly. How did they survive? Haida asks, horrified by how cold some of the Yazata can be. An ally of Reznel witnessed his execution, and out of respect to his fallen friend, hid the child and its mother. That Yazata is from whom I eventually learned the existence of this line of Nephilim. Both Enkidu and Adonai descend from Reznel's blood. Haida is shocked to learn that Enkidu and Adonai are of the same distant bloodline. Are there still other descendants of the Nephilim? After all the destruction caused by the Magog, I do not know. It will take me many years to take an accurate census of the humans that remain. If only we had more of them right now, they might have been able to defeat the Magog together. Adonai hangs his head in shame. It is my failure, he whispers. I should be down there fighting alongside Enkidu, but I am too weak, and would only get in his way. Do not be so hard on yourself, Doyle says. Enkidu has trained for many more years than you. It takes much more time to build up that kind of fighting spirit and experience. No amount of raw talent can hope to prevail against a force of nature so overwhelming as the Magog. Enkidu will, Ida says with determination. He will win. Enkidu and the Magog explode across the terrain, each strike causing the ground to swell out beneath them and resound with a loud sonic boom. The Magog connects with a hard right, but Enkidu counters with an elbow. He still finds it awkward to fight in close quarters using the Banukasca, despite the extensive training, and tries to create some distance between them. I cannot fight with this bulky weapon, Enkidu thinks with frustration, trying to bring the curved blade of the Banukasca across the Magog's chest. The impish creature dodges easily and fires a rapid succession of energy blasts. Enkidu spins the Banukasca like a windmill, deflecting the energy and lunges, spearing the Magog through the gut. The Magog grins, grabbing hold of the Banukasca. Enkidu lifts his weapon, hefting both it and the creature into the air. The spear point tears into the Magog's flesh, and it howls with pain. Smoke rises from the wound, and for the first time, Enkidu sees that he has managed to inflict real damage to the incarnation of human sin. It can be hurt by the Banukasca, Mikhail says, watching the battle closely. Enkidu, the cherubim gave you that blade because it knew you could defeat the Magog. Do not let up. Finish this fight for everyone that remains. Enkidu rips the blade sideways and comes back down with a diagonal slash. The Magog shrieks as it is nearly cleaved in two. The wounds smoke and sizzle as if on fire, and the beast seems unable to regenerate the injuries. This is for everyone that you have murdered, Enkidu shouts, thrusting out his palm and consuming the Magog in a massive inferno of divine energy. Relaxing, Enkidu releases his Sarai transformation and takes a knee to catch his breath. Enkidu, you are being careless. Keep your guard up, Mikhail screams in concern. The Magog is defeated, Enkidu replies with effort, pointing to the smoldering flames. As the fire subsides and the heavy smoke rolls away, nothing of the creature remains. See, I have won. His arrogance has gotten out of control, Mikhail thinks. What has happened to the humble warrior priest? It cannot be that easy. Stay alert for any more of the beast's trickery, Mikhail says. Enkidu scoffs, ignoring the Yazda's caution. Suddenly, the Magog appears behind him, growling with rage. The creature's eyes burn bright red and saliva spews from its quivering lips. Without warning, the Magog thrusts a transformed hand through Enkidu's back and out his chest. Blood explodes into the air and the warrior's face becomes ghostly white. No! Mikhail screams, flashing to the location of Shinkanido and attacking the Magog with furious slashes from his sword. The Magog evades each attack, countering with swipes of an arm now transformed into an axe. Enkidu collapses to the ground, blood swelling out around his form. His thoughts become distant and difficult to focus upon. He's surprised that there is little pain to be felt. Death is too easy, Enkidu thinks. Too much like going to sleep. He begins to close his eyes, but is stopped by a vibration coming from the Banukasca. Disappointment. You are not worthy of our power. Who are you? Enkidu whispers, blood drooling from his lips. He's quite sure that he is delirious. We gave you the power to become a god and be without equal. And this is what becomes of you. Mikhail is forced back as the Magog presses its advantage in speed and ferocity. This is not right, Mikhail thinks, defending the wild slashes with his sword and wincing upon each impact. The Magog is just as strong as before. How did its energy not deplete? Enkidu's fingers claw at the earth, willing his body to move. I can still fight, the man coughs. The voice within the Banakaska is amused by the human's effort. You are collapsed upon death's door. What more can you do other than bleed on your enemy? I will convert my remaining life force to a single attack and amplify the blast with your full power. If you will lend me that strength just this once. Interesting proposal. You would die to defeat your foe. Enkidu nods. I have no other choices left. Beg for the Yazata to heal you, take you away from here, and leave this world to the Potestas. This is my home, Enkidu growls, posting his hands and lifting his chest off the dirt. He shakes, struggling to move. Blood continues to fall in heavy splatters from his wounds. It is my responsibility to protect this world, not the Yazatas, and certainly not the Potestas. Admirable. You may use our blade one last time. Do not disappoint again. Enkidu screams, flaring out his Yazdan energy and reaching into his Nephilim ancestry. Becoming a Sarai, the man's body becomes enveloped in a flashing white light. The wounds on his chest and back are aflame with white fire, and his hair stands on end, waving wildly within the aura vortex. He grips the Banakaska tightly and stands up, focusing his tired gaze upon the Magog. You and I are not finished. Enkidu coughs, more blood coming up. He knows that his time is short. The Magog will never give them the time for Mikhail to cast a healing spell and save him from passing from this world. The Magog turns to look up, surprised to see the man again standing. Be in this now, monster. Growling, the Magog strides towards the human with hatred. Mikhail is torn between continuing his attack and hanging back to watch Enkidu's desperate last stand. He senses the man's life force mixed with his Yazdan energy and can feel both rapidly declining. Enkidu, you cannot win. It was foolish for me to leave the fate of this world up to a human, Mikhail says regretfully. I am afraid that I gave you false hope. Ignoring him, Enkidu holds up the Banakaska with both hands. Without knowing the technique, the weapon makes its secrets known to him through his fingers. Basaya Shinde. Black Flame Death Wave. Enkidu screams, giving the attack extra power with its full name announced. A massive torrent of black energy erupts from the blade towards the Magog. The energy wave hits the creature, but it merely grins and catches the blast with both hands. Being negative energy, the Magog quickly absorbs the attack and adds its strength to its own reserves. The Magog howls, drunk with power. Energy leaks from its eyes and mouth and rises up from its body like black steam. Enkidu is not fazed. His fingers search for another technique that might be more effective. The man begs for the Banakaska to make itself known to him in full, and all of its secrets to manifest. The weapon is unlike any other in existence, and he wonders what is the source of the strange consciousness within. In seconds, the Banakaska teaches its wielder, unlocking another powerful ability. Basaya, Transform, Shinde, Black Flame, Convert, Death Wave. The second energy wave hits the Magog just like the first, but the creature is surprised to find that its hands have become pale and pinkish in color. The energy burns at the Magog's mortal flesh, dissolving it painfully. Enkidu's heart begins to give out, and he feels his life energy plummet by half. I must end this now. A blue glow surrounds both Enkidu and the Banakaska as the warrior priest of Katatakuk focuses on performing his ultimate maneuver in conjunction with the power of the Banakaska. Brahmastra! Enkidu growls, his feet sinking into the ground beneath the raw power of the energy. Suddenly, the blue glow vanishes, taking Enkidu's Sarai transformation with it. He drops forward, held up only by the Banokaska. The Banokaska! It has blocked me. Enkidu stutters with disbelief. I could feel the blade snuff out my energy, as if it were a wet torch. Confused, the Magog finally regenerates its injuries and approaches Enkidu with the intent to remove him from this world once and for all. You must succeed with my power alone, the voice within the Banokaska tells Enkidu. You cannot use both the power of light and the power of darkness simultaneously. Enkidu remembers the black energy released by the weapon and how it prevented him from using his most holy purifying technique. Your power lies in darkness, Enkidu coughs. I cannot fight a negative being with power rooted in that same darkness. The Banokaska angers, and Enkidu can hear many voices arguing all at once. The strongest will always prevail, no matter the source of their strength. You will be stronger than the Magog with our power. You do not have need of purifying techniques. Making a choice, Enkidu tosses the weapon aside and nearly collapses. His vision blurs and he knows that he only has a single opportunity remaining. Fool! Use our power! Destroy the Magog! Make it suffer for the thousands of lives it has extinguished! You must hate it! You must get revenge! Mikhail sees black energy leaking from the Banokaska and finally understands why Enkidu has decided to cast it aside. The Banokaska's power was trying to corrupt Enkidu. What dark magic did the Aralim use to amplify that weapon? Enkidu's hair stands on end and his Yazatan energy flares out in a violent cyclone one last time. Please take care of my people, Enkidu says, looking up into the sky. Only light can dispel darkness. Fighting you with anger and hatred only made you stronger. I finally understand you, Magog. The Magog springs forward, but Mikhail intercepts with a kick to the face. As the creature bounces off the dirt, the Yazda quickly chants the incantation needed for the sealing spell of the eternal tomb, Askinian. Askinian Ivii! Mikhail screams, stone pillars encircling the Magog, and shaking the ground violently. Light crisscrosses the pillars, materializing a magical pyramid to entomb the beast. Enkidu focuses his energy into one last attack, trying not to waste the opportunity given him by the Seraphim Yazata. All of the warrior's life force moves into his fingertips, and the rest of his body begins to decay. Thank you, Enkidu whispers. A blue glow wraps around his fingertips and shines outward in a blinding beacon. Cracks snake through the magical tomb as the Magog hammers at it with all of its might. You were born of our sins. Our evil deeds and selfish decisions gave you strength. Every murder, every theft, rape, and blasphemy gave you life. We are all guilty for your revival. I was so angry with Dwarka and their godless revelry that I did not stop to take responsibility for my own sin. Hoyles was correct when he thought that sanctifying me as a warrior of God would finally give me what I was missing in order to see to your destruction. Yet even then, I could not let go of my anger and my hatred. The Magog's fist shatters the tomb, and it peers out from the darkness. Snarling, the creature explodes free and speeds at Enkidu in bloodlust. Mikhail tries to stop the beast with pulses of energy, but the Magog evades them all, never slowing. Left with no other choice, Mikhail teleports in the Magog's path and kicks it with all of his strength under the chin. I no longer feel any hatred towards you, Enkidu says, his eyes shining with sadness and regret. I pity you. You never knew any other way, other than how you were created. You're incapable of love or joy. You know only of the sin that fuels your very existence. The Magog pivots, backhanding Mikhail. The Seraphim Yazda hops to the side and slashes his sword across the beast's waist. The Magog leans back in evasion and extends an arm transformed into a spear. Mikhail shouts in pain as he is pierced through his right shoulder. I pray that mankind can learn to follow goodness and act in love only. Then, and only then, will you be at peace. The Magog's fist smashes against Mikhail's face, sending teeth and blood into the air in a thick cloud. Mikhail stabs his sword up through the creature's chest. It does not stop until the hilt catches. Mikhail falls back, pierced through the chest by another transformed arm. Not even the Yazdan armor can withstand the Magog's power. As Mikhail hits the ground, he manages to see the blue glow of Enkidu's aura in the corner of his eye. Fulfill your vow, Mikhail coughs. Save your world. With no one left between him and Enkidu, the Magog's attention is returned to the human. Every sin that gave you strength will now burn through you with the power of 1,000 suns, Enkidu says, holding out his hands. Brahmastra, Ahura. The Magog does not allow Enkidu the time to release the attack, moving with superior speed and forcing the man to leap back to avoid being sliced in half. Blood explodes from Enkidu's chest and he fights to push back the pain and remain focused on keeping the Brahmastra technique activated. Every time he is close enough to attack, the Magog is ready to counter. Mikhail thinks with frustration, shakily lifting his head to view Enkidu dodging the creature's attacks across the battlefield. Preparing himself for a sacrificial play, Mikhail forces himself to stand and releases his full power remaining. White wings of energy extend from the Seraphim Arche's back, and he speeds at the Magog with a loud battle cry. Manifesting a sword of golden energy, Mikhail slashes at the back of the sinful beast's neck. The Magog turns, snatching Mikhail's blade and shattering it. Stunned, Mikhail is unable to react in time to avoid the pulse of red energy that erupts through his chest and out his back. The Magog tosses the motionless Yazata to the ground, grinning with triumph. A torrent of shimmering energy arrows suddenly rains down upon the Magog, preventing the beast from turning to finish Enkidu. What are you doing just standing there? Lianlin shouts, continuing to assault the Magog with arrows fed by divine light. This is the last and best chance we have for all of those that we have lost, and those we must protect. End this! The Magog screams, rippling its own energy outward to send the young woman flailing backwards. The arrows cease. The creature is now free to kill the few obstacles remaining on this world. Appearing via remote Shunkonido, Adonai cuts through the Magog's gut with a horizontal sword slash. Barely slowed, the Magog grabs the youth by the throat and lifts him into the air. Transforming an arm into a long spear, the creature prepares to impale Adonai. Enkidu launches himself forward, sparkles of blue energy trailing behind like stardust. Lianlim struggles to aim her bow, squinting with difficulty as blood runs down her face and into her eyes. The girl releases energy arrows once more, driving them into the center of the Magog's chest, and staggering the beast backward. The Magog inadvertently drops Adonai, and the youth instantly pivots with a diagonal slash across the beast's chest. The Magog transforms an arm into a bladed edge, but the appendage is quickly destroyed by a light energy arrow. The creature turns, thrusting its other arm towards Lianlim, who fights against the pain to continue firing a stream of light arrows. An arrow strikes the Magog in the face, obliterating its head and causing the beast to stumble. Tendrils of the Magog's flesh extend out from its body, grabbing both Lianlim and Adonai by the ankles and lifting them into the air. With a shout of exertion, Enkidu leaps forward and slashes his hand down through the tendrils. As Lianlim falls, she releases several more arrows before landing in a crouch and continuing to fire. Growling in fury as it reforms its head, the Magog hurls dozens of crescents of red energy at the humans. Lianlim targets the energy with her light arrows as Adonai rushes forward and slashes upward across the Magog's chest. Enkidu strikes the Magog's upper section, dispersing it with a Brahmastra-powered punch. The Magog's flesh explodes into particles of light before its lower section is able to reform its missing upper half and grabs Enkidu by the throat. Adonai's blade flashes down across the Magog's arm, severing it. Lianlin immediately fires a barrage of light arrows, pushing the creature back. The Magog roars loudly, expelling a shockwave of sound that slams into the humans and knocks them all off of their feet. Leaping up, the Magog transforms its body into a series of sharpened spears meant to impale the humans, but each of the appendages are quickly rendered in two by the flashing of his Yazdan blades. "You will not claim a cheap victory, beast," Raphael shouts, holding his sword outwards as Enkidu and the others crawl back up to their feet. The Magog transforms both arms into enormous scythes, but magical chains suddenly wrap around its wrists and bind the creature. "Attack now, humans!" Jibril shouts. "End this battle!" Enkidu and Adonai rush forward as Lianlin fires an unending stream of light arrows overhead. Suddenly, Lianlin's attacks are joined by a barrage of bursts of light energy fired from the hands of the captains of the 7th Choir, Azreniel, Isradiel, and Kumrael. Reaching the Magog, Adonai delivers multiple slashes with his sword, while Enkidu's fists hammer the creature's flesh with numerous purifying body shots. The captains of the 1st Choir, Amradel, Tethwal, and Waruniel, assist the humans, striking any opening they can with their own Yazdan weapons. Each impact of Enkidu's punches causes an area around the strike to disperse into particles of purified light. Severely weakened, the Magog uses the tendril of flesh to extend from its foot and reform its body away from the binding and the attacks. "You aren't escaping your fate," General Haniel shouts as he and Fanuel come down across the Magog with their swords as it begins to reform. Lianlin and the Yazda target the pieces of the Magog's flesh with their light energy, reducing them to black smoke. The smoke attempts to move, retaining the Magog's sentience, but it suddenly begins to crystallize with ice magic. "It cannot have much energy left to draw upon," Mikhail shouts, shakily holding his hands out to cast the spell. The general is still wounded and racked by fatigue. "Do not let up, and give it any opportunity to recover." General Uriel holds up his sword, concentrating divine light into the blade. "Jianwu! Tendo!" he shouts, bringing his blade down upon the frozen Magog, and causing an enormous explosion. The others shield their faces from the shock wave as powerful winds radiate outward. The remains of the Magog quiver on the ground near Enkidu and Raphael. "Our efforts have not been in vain. We must finish this," Mikhail screams. Fanuel, Jibril, and Haniel hold their blades together in the air. The swords glow brightly with divine light. "Jianwo! Tendo!" The Yazda shout in unison, slashing their swords downward and consuming the pieces of the Magog in another massive explosion. The ground shakes violently and splits open, pillars of flame streaking upward and scattering the remaining warriors. Lava flows boil from the pits, burning everything in their path. The Magog draws all of the smoke back into itself and reforms in a flash of red light that releases malice outward in all directions. The evil presses down upon the humans, overwhelming them and driving them to their hands and knees. Enkidu is the first to overcome the Magog's power and runs at the reformed embodiment of sin. The Yazda clear Enkidu's path as the Magog lashes out with dozens of bladed tendrils. The angelic blades sever each of the appendages, allowing Enkidu to continue towards his enemy. The Magog roars loudly, expelling a burst of red energy from its mouth, but Mikhail intercepts, deflecting the energy off to the side with the release of his own strength. The Magog's attack erupts into a brilliant inferno, but Enkidu continues forward undeterred. Waruniel helps Lianlin to her feet, his angelic presence allowing her to overcome the Magog's dark pressure. "Do not lose heart now, and give in to that creature's malice. You are all stronger than that. Fight to protect your world. This is your last and best chance." Nodding, Lianlin begins firing more light arrows at the Magog. The creature tries to block the arrows with its aura, but its energy begins to wane. The Magog has burned through most of its stamina, and is now running on fumes. If they continue like this, they may finally succeed in defeating the Magog. Enkidu reaches the creature, but it again lashes out with bladed appendages in desperation. The Yazda continue to fight to defend Enkidu from the attacks, but the Magog's strikes are faster and filled with the last traces of the creature's malice. One by one the Yazda are struck down, Blood and divine light sprang outward from the wounds. Mikhail and Uriel attempt to hit the Magog with divine light from their swords, but the darkness is too powerful and smothers the light. Lanlam's light arrows too vanish into the darkness. Adonai shouts out in pain as a bladed tendril cuts him down from behind. Raphael struggles to stand, bladed appendages slashing at him again and again. Enkidu surrounds himself with an aura shield, but he knows it will not last long. The Magog is going all out with the last of its strength. We have not come this far, and sacrificed all that we have to lose now, Soriel says, rising up from the shadows in front of Enkidu. The Angel of Death absorbs the Magog's attacks, shielding Enkidu. Hold nothing back. Your opponent is already giving this battle everything they have. If you do not give it your all, you can never hope to end this nightmare. Enkidu leaps through the shadows of Soriel's form, landing on sections of earth telepathically lifted by Mikhail. Using the platforms, Enkidu leaps above the Magog's attacks and screams as he releases all of his Yazatin energy outward. Glowing wings of energy shine brightly behind Enkidu, and a burning halo of light flares above him as he comes down on the Magog from the sky. The Magog's eyes glance up at the motion, lowering its guard enough for the attacks of Lianlim and the Yazatin to finally penetrate the darkness. Reaching the Magog as it staggers, Enkidu drives both of his glowing fists against the creature's chest. Beams of white light shoot out from the Magog's numerous wounds, and it howls in agony as divine blue flames erupt from its mouth and eyes. The creature's hard leathery skin loses color and becomes a dull ashen gray. The entire world becomes flooded with white light and all sound ceases. Time seems to come to a stop, and even Hoyles is forced to open his eyes and return his consciousness from the world to Holoban. What is it? Haida asks. Has Enkidu won? Hoyles is unsure, closing his eyes, but still only seeing white. The Magog screams, but no sound emerges from its throat. This is confusing, but the excruciating pain is more important, and it pays the peculiarity no mind. The creature tries to move, but finds that its legs no longer exist. It looks around to see that its arms, too, have ceased. The last sparks of sin emanating from the Magog fizzle out, causing its husk to scatter into dust. Only the Magog's core being remains, everything else burned away by the purifying light. With nothing to hold it together and no strength remaining, the essence of the Magog simply fades away. The battle has concluded, and the Magog has once again returned to the earth. Enkidu sways, his own body losing much of its color. Enkidu? Adonai whispers, confused and frightened. The youth himself is barely able to stand, yet he has survived. The man is silent, pieces of his skin flaking away into dust, revealing extensive tissue damage below. In order to deliver the most effective Brahmastra possible, Enkidu fueled the attack with his own life force as the catalyst. Lianlin limps over to them, holding a bleeding arm. Is it over? Lianlin whispers. Is the Magog truly gone? Enkidu turns his head towards the young warriors, nodding one last time and smiling, giving the two his endorsement to protect the world instead. The proud warrior priest of Katatakuk, and descendant of the Nephilim, breathes his last, the lingering traces of his spirit fading. Enkidu's body falls forward, much of it scattering to dust. Regaining consciousness, Mikhail staggers over to the human, only to find his remains have already mummified and dried up of all moisture. He shuts his eyes in sadness and says a prayer for the soul of the brave warrior to find his way to paradise and eternal rest. Beside Enkidu, the Banakoska lies intact. The cherubim nearly cost us everything. I did not understand why Enkidu was given that weapon if he was not meant to use it to defeat the Magog. The cherubim must have known the blade would only give the creature more strength. As if on cue, the same cherubim descends in a pillar of fire. Mikhail shields his eyes and hesitates to step away from the Banakaska. "Why?" Mikhail asks. "Why give him that flawed weapon?" The cherubim retrieves the Banakaska, paying the seraphim little attention. "Answer me, damn it! Why?" The mortal came to the answer. "Why are you unable?" The cherubim and the Banakaska rise up in the pillar of fire and vanish. Mikhail wraps Enkidu's body and stands over it solemnly. He feels as though he failed, unable to lead Enkidu to victory without sacrificing his life. Kneeling, he gathers the body in his arms and calls for the other humans to come forward. "It is our duty to honor Enkidu's bravery and build the future that he gave his life for," Mikhail says. "We are nowhere near as strong as Enkidu was. How will we be able to protect the world without him?" Adonai asks. Lanlin pushes the young warrior and smiles with blood-stained teeth. "Simple. We get stronger." Mikhail nods, thinking the world is in good hands. "Come. We owe it to Enkidu's mate and teacher the story of the bravery we have beheld here today." Mikhail uses Shunkonito to teleport himself and the two humans back to Holoven, where Hoyles and Haida wait. With his superior vision and senses, Hoyles already knows the end result of the battle, but is too upset to relay the information to Haida just yet. Upon seeing the Yazda carrying a human-sized bundle, and Enkidu nowhere to be seen, Haida immediately drops to her hands and knees in despair. She wails loudly, cursing Mikhail and the other Yazata. "Enough, woman," Hoyle says, sadness in his own voice. "Do not disrespect the dead with your cries. Enkidu knew that the lives of many are greater than his own, and he willingly chose to make that sacrifice. He was an honorable man and a hero. His memory shall never fade from our minds. The sons of Enkidu will live on as long as mankind exists." "Sons?" Haida asks, confused. She looks up at them in tears. "I did not know that he had children. I must go to them and let them know of their father's fate." "The offspring of his loins is not yet born," Hoyle says. "It will be through you that the Hyalura line persists. You alone carry Enkidu's descendants." "I am pregnant?" Haida asks, completely taken aback by this revelation. "We were only together once." "You will raise his sons to honor life and praise the God of his father. Enkidu's line will carry within it great warriors, some even more powerful than he," Mikhail adds. "I pledge my word to keep watch of Enkidu's line for all times and guide them along the way," Hoyles vows. "Congratulations," Lanlam says excitedly. "I'm so happy for you. It would be my honor to teach your sons everything I know of riding and archery when they are old enough. And I owe it to Enkidu to teach them what little I know of their father's techniques. From our short sparring time together," Adonai says. "Take his body and bury it beside the grave of his father Som," Mikhail adds. "Tell all who remain in his village of his brave sacrifice, and I shall pledge the hands of Anshar to rebuild Kataltakuk to its entire former splendor." Haida touches her stomach, feeling no signs that she is with child, and wondering how the Yazata can be so sure. In her past she lay with many men and never conceived. She cannot believe that a few special moments with Enkidu could be so vastly different. "Why do you return your thoughts to past sin? We have made you clean and united your soul to Enkidu's. Is that not enough for you? Do not return to your past, for it has been wiped away and shall never be revived," Mikhail says, scolding the young woman. "I am sorry," she says in shame. "Your life is made anew, and you must always give praise and glory to the Creator for your second chance. Raise your sons to be righteous and unlike Dwarka in all ways. I shall focus entirely upon my children, Ida says. The Yazda nods, satisfied. You shall name the first Enkidu, for he is of Enkidu and will serve God. The second you will call Risnio, in honor of his ancestor. Mikhail turns to leave, satisfied with the hope that mankind may not turn to sin again, as they did with Dwarka. Will you return to your own mansion now? Boyles asks. Or will you aid your fellows in rebuilding Kataltakuk? Neither. I intend to gain audience with the cherubim that holds the Banu Kazka. I wish to learn that blade's secrets and why we've all been misled for so long. The black energy, Boyles asks. You believe the blade is cursed? Mikhail nods. Something like. Enkidu said that the blade tried to corrupt him. He mentioned a voice within the blade, speaking to his mind. I must discover what lies behind the weapon and its creation. I sense that you are feeling betrayed. Be careful not to allow those feelings to move you onto a path of destruction. The truth of the Banu Kazka must become apparent to me, for my mind to be set at ease. That weapon was created by Sane, and I must know what dark powers he used. If it was known by the cherubim to be a cursed weapon, I wish to know why they gave it to Enkidu to wield. Be careful on your journey of discovery. Do not be led astray by false paths. May you find the truth, no matter what it may be. Kishar Realm Earth, village of the Lush. Refugio and his remaining men arrive in the city, having narrowly survived the natural disaster spurred by the Magog's terror. Of the 200 that departed Levant with Refugio and the Sakari Shayatina, 70 men now remain. The walls of the city are destroyed and many homes lie in ruin. Few people are seen as their caravan enters the city. You have come too late if you seek to plunder, a woman says, greeting them defiantly. We have nothing left to give that has not already been taken by the Gaults. They stole our produce, our sons, and our daughters. Our men went out to fight them, but they have not returned. The ground quakes violently and the heavens burn. No one that has gone out shall ever return alive. As you say, the world has been wrought with chaos. We have seen such disaster in our own journey. If your men have fallen, we shall retrieve your children, Refugio says. What can you do that our warriors were unable? She asks skeptically. Refugio smiles, presenting Shayatina to her. Her face mostly covered, only the Sakari's red eyes are visible. We have a mother to our own people, stronger than 100 men. We ask only that in return to our aid, you shall give your daughters to my men as wives, and allow us to call this city home. Kishar Realm Earth, village of Kataltakuk. The surviving inhabitants of Kataltakuk, weary yet resilient, emerged from the shadows of tragedy to face the daunting task of cleaning up and rebuilding. The air was heavy with grief and determination as they began the arduous process of reclaiming their village from the clutches of devastation. Among the ruins, fallen timbers, and rubble, the villagers gathered, their hearts heavy with loss, yet fortified by the collective spirit of resilience. They formed lines, passing debris and wreckage hand to hand, their sweat mingling with dust and dirt as they toiled to clear the once beloved village. The cleanup effort was a laborious and painstaking endeavor. Villagers sifted through the remnants of shattered homes and overturned structures, salvaging what they could from the wreckage. Broken beams were carefully removed. Broken pottery was swept away, and charred remnants of vegetation cleared from the streets. It was not just the physical remnants of destruction that tested their resolve. The forces of nature, once their allies, now seemed to resent their presence. The once fertile fields lay barren and lifeless, their crops decimated by the violent upheaval that accompanied the Magog's rampage. The rivers that once quenched their thirst had turned treacherous, flooding their homes and fields. Amidst this struggle for recovery, the villagers faced a multitude of trials. Limited resources strained their resilience, and the absence of their fellow villagers, lost to the Magog's terror, left a void in their tightly knit community. The emotional scars of grief and trauma weighed heavily upon their hearts, threatening to dampen their spirit. But the villagers found strength in unity. They formed bonds forged by shared experiences and the common goal of rebuilding their lives. Families, neighbors, and friends leaned on one another, offering support and solace amidst the adversity they faced. With determination, they organized themselves, dividing tasks and sharing burdens. The village square became a hub of activity where plans were made, resources pooled, and hope rekindled. Together they constructed makeshift shelters, providing a temporary refuge from the elements. As time passed, the resilience of the village began to bear fruit. The once barren fields were carefully tended to, with new seeds sown and matured. Slowly but surely, life began to reemerge, as tender shoots of green broke through the soil, promising a renewed harvest in the future. The villagers worked tirelessly, rebuilding their homes and businesses piece by piece. The sounds of hammers and saws filled the air, mingling with laughter and shared stories. It was a testament to their indomitable spirit, a refusal to succumb to the despair left in the Magog's wake. Challenges and setbacks continued to test their resolve. The weather remained unpredictable and the scars of trauma lingered. But with each passing day, the villagers grew stronger, both individually and as a community. Their determination fueled the reconstruction efforts, breathing life back into the village of Kataltakuk. The scars of the Magog's rampage remained, but the villagers carried on, rebuilding their lives and forging a new future. It was a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity, a reminder that even amidst the darkness of times, hope and perseverance could bring forth a new dawn. With the disappearance of the self-appointed captain of the guard, Baron, Enkidu's failure to return, and the violent weather and natural disasters, the city has been in turmoil. More villagers have fled to the wilderness only to be felled by lightning and sudden pits opening up to swallow them whole. The beasts of the wild, too, have become more vicious and less cautious, stalking right up to the city gates to carry away the young women that attempt to retrieve water from the wells. Someone approaches on horseback, a guard shouts from his post along the outer wall. Does Captain Baron return? Or Enkidu and Tarvin, perhaps? Tannen asks. It is a young woman. Lianlim, then? Tannen asks hopefully. If Lianlim returns, then his son is likely with her. No, I do not think so. She appears foreign. Tannen sighs. Turn her away. We do not have enough food for our own people. We cannot take in strays. The woman rides up to the gates and gently dismounts, taking great care to protect her stomach. I apologize, traveler, the guard says down to her. We're upon hard times, and have no hospitality to spare. I come bearing the body of a great hero of your city, Ida says, pointing to the large bundle slung over the back of her horse. Garn leans back, lowering his voice down to Tannen. Sir, the leather of that bag and the saddle have the markings of the Hyalura clan upon them. Tannen's heart sinks. Of all things, he never expected the news of Enkidu's death. Worse still, if Enkidu is dead, so too must his son Tarvin. Explain, stranger, the guard shouts. Do you bring us misfortune in the form of our dead champion, Enkidu? Enkidu, of the clan Hyalura, son of the hero Psalm, has indeed perished, Ida says, forcing back her own pain. He fell battling the great evil Magog, which was the cause of the disasters across the world in recent days. Who are you to bear his remains? Tannen asks. That man was no friend of Dwarka. If any of that city still lived, they would have fed his body to the carrion birds. I bear this body back to you, because I am his wife, and I carry his unborn sons. The guard laughs with disbelief. Enkidu took a wife in Dwarka? That is absurd. Indeed, Tanin agrees. He suffered greatly from taking his last companion from that cesspool. Enkidu's victory over the Magog has secured you the spoils of his final vow. He promised to rebuild this city of his birth, and on his behalf, the Yazata shall fulfill, Ida says, blowing a golden ram's horn. Allow me entrance, so that we may bury Enkidu beside his father. Then we shall work with the Yazata to make good on that promise. Summoned by the horn, a dozen Yazata appear beside Haida in a flash of light. Tanin looks over at the guards and nods. Reluctantly, the city guards raise the main gates and allow Haida inside. Enkidu departed from Dwarka with a young man, Tanin says, approaching the stranger. Do you know what became of that young man? Haida nods slowly and averts her eyes in sadness. The Magog extinguished every light in Dwarka. I alone survived because of Enkidu. I am truly sorry. Tears fill Tanin's eyes and he excuses himself to grieve. Enkidu's companions also perished? A guard asks her. I did not see the fate of the young man, but I do know that the girl Lianlim still lives. She is currently undergoing training with the Yazata that trained Enkidu. She has been chosen to become his replacement and a new champion for this village. Tanin tries not to allow false hope to creep in with the news that Haida did not actually see his son perish. We are lucky to have the Yazata take such an interest in our welfare. Enkidu gave his life to protect this world. Preserving his sacrifice is something that Master Hoyles wishes to ensure. Our survival means a lot to him. He was very invested in Enkidu's victory over the Magog. What the female says is true, the Yazda named Amnitiel says. We have been tasked with helping to rebuild this city, so that Enkidu's sacrifices shall not be in vain. Humanity shall thrive with his people at its core for generations to come. You said he perished in battle against the Magog, Tanin says. Who or what is that? The Magog is a creature of sin born of humanity's iniquity. It has been defeated for now, but it will return again one day, Amnitiel says. The more righteous mankind remains, the longer it will take the creature to rebuild its strength. It is all a lot to take in, and Tanin sighs loudly. I shall show you to the home of Enkidu. I suppose it now belongs to you. Haida nods. Thank you for your hospitality. I will do my best to earn my place here, and not use the memory of Enkidu to buy me any favors. That is the kind of nobility that Enkidu would have respected. I believe he found himself a rare gem in that filthy city. Haida laughs, hiding the tears that rise at every mention of Enkidu's name. To be fair, I was not born of Dwarka. I was brought to that city as a slave, as a child. I have no mixed feelings about the demise of that horrible place. Dwarka is completely gone, sunk beneath the sea. None of the coastal cities and villages remain after the Magog arose. We truly were brought to the brink of extinction. A Yazda named Zerachiel comes forward. Show me to your fields, so that I may bless them with rich harvests. A maiden of Fee named Layla takes the angel's hand. Come, I will show you. I very much would like to see how you divine magics work. The Yazda is confused, but allows himself to be led away. Haida laughs. It has been so long since I felt this kind of peace. It is hard to believe that it is real. If peace truly has come, it is welcome, Tanin replies. We have fought for a very long time to keep our people safe. I pray that this era of peace lasts forever. Amitiel speaks up. That is a vain wish. Peace cannot last forever. If not the Magog, another threat shall surface. Such is the way of this world. The Yazata do not know how to make someone feel better, do they? Tannen laughs. You will get used to them. Overall, their honesty is refreshing, Haida says. So, Lianlin has been chosen to be Enkidu's replacement? Has there ever before been a female warrior priest? Tannen asks. Excluding the females from the warrior caste was an invention of your ancestors. Not us. There is nothing preventing young Lianlin from becoming a great warrior beyond her own restraints. If she allows nothing to hold her back, I foresee her doing great feats in her own right. We are blessed to have her looking over us, then, Tannen says respectfully. Haida suddenly looks embarrassed. I am not sure how to ask this. What is it? Tannen replies, confused. Do you happen to have a midwife or an experienced matriarch around? I'm at the first steps of a long journey that I know nothing about. And I'm frightened. Tannen's eyes widen. You are with child? Haida smiles, thinking of her time together with Enkidu. I carry with me the sons of Enkidu and the future of his bloodline. Amitiel puts a hand on Haida's shoulder softly. And we shall be vigilant in our watch for all time. It has been declared that the line of Enkidu shall not be broken. His sons and their offspring, and so forth, until the end of time, shall have our protection. Epilogue. Anshar Realm, Mansion of Naphtali, 4 months after the defeat of the Magog. Mikhail and several other Yazda who survived against the Magog have gathered together in council to discuss the current and future states of both the Kishar and Anshar realms after the events on the earth. The council hall where the angels gathered for their solemn meeting was a grand and awe-inspiring chamber that seemed to exist outside the bounds of time and space. It emanated an ethereal radiance, suffused with a celestial glow that illuminated the surroundings with a soft golden light. The hall was vast, with high, arching ceilings, adorned with intricate carvings that depicted scenes from cosmic history and the triumphs of angelic endeavors. The walls, made of shimmering white marble, were adorned with tapestries woven from the threads of starlight, depicting the celestial realms and the great deeds of the Yazata. At the heart of the chamber stood a magnificent round table, polished to a mirror-like sheen. The table, crafted from a luminescent crystal, seemed to shimmer with its own ethereal energy. It served as the focal point of the council, a symbol of unity and equality among the Yazata. Hovering above the table, suspended in mid-air, were intricate, glowing sigils representing the various realms and domains under the angel's protection. These sigils pulsed with celestial energy, serving as a reminder of the vast scope of their responsibilities and the interconnectedness of the celestial order. Along the walls of the council hall, celestial tapestries unfurled, depicting the diverse realms and domains that the angels guarded. From heavenly landscapes to earthly realms, from ethereal realms to light, to abyssal realms of darkness, each tapestry told a story of angelic endeavors, their triumphs and the challenges they faced, and their eternal quest to maintain cosmic balance. Illuminated by celestial luminance, the council hall was adorned with celestial flora and fauna. Blossoms of celestial flowers and vibrant hues graced the corners of the chamber, their petals radiating a soft, iridescent glow. Ethereal songbirds, their melodies resonating with angelic harmonies, fluttered through the air, filling the hall with an enchanting chorus. The air within the council hall carried a weight of solemnity and reverence, as it infused with the collective wisdom and grace of the assembled Yazata. It seemed to hum with an intangible energy, an atmosphere of celestial presence that whispered of ancient secrets and eternal truths. As the Sarum and the Arche of the 11 active choirs gathered in the sacred place, they took their places around the round table, their wings gently folded behind them. The hall embraced their celestial grace, its walls and tapestries serving as a backdrop to the deliberations and decisions, amplifying their collective power and purpose. Within the council hall, time seemed to stand still, creating a sanctuary outside the constraints of mortal existence. It was a place where the celestial order took shape, where destinies were decided, where the profound wisdom and compassion of the Yazida converged, shaping the course of the universe itself. The violence of the Magog did not only reduce mankind to a sliver of the population, it has also destroyed mountains, merged seas, deluged entire cities, turned deserts to lake beds, and altered climates drastically, General Mikhail says. The long-term effects of this event could last for thousands of years. The cities and villages ravaged by the Magog are in dire need of our aid. We must tend to the wounded, provide solace to those who have lost loved ones, and initiate the process of reconstruction. Our healing energies must be directed towards not only physical wounds, but also the hearts and spirits of the affected, Barachiel says. In the wake of destruction, we must nurture the spirit of creativity and inspiration. It is the humans that must rebuild their world for the better and without the evil and depravity of the previous. We shall encourage the arts, for they have the power to uplift souls and inspire greatness even in the midst of turmoil. Through beauty, we shall forge a path towards renewal, says Jophiel. Let us not forget that amidst the chaos and destruction, there are those who have been swayed by the Magog's influence. We must offer a hand of redemption, extending forgiveness and guiding them back towards the path of righteousness. In doing so, we can mend the fractures that the Magog has exploited, says Fanuel. We must also acknowledge that the Magog's influence extended beyond the physical realm. Its malevolence tainted the spiritual essence of the world, leaving behind a residue of darkness. We must engage in rituals of purification, restoring the sanctity of sacred places, and rekindling the divine connection that the Magog sought to sever, Raphael says. In the face of such devastation, we must not forget our role as guardians. We must establish fortified sanctuaries, where mortals can seek refuge and find solace. These strongholds of light will serve as beacons of hope, safeguarding them from the encroaching darkness, Uriel says. Indeed, but we must not only restore the physical structures, but also work to rebuild hope and faith. The Magog has sown seeds of fear and despair. It is our duty to counteract these dark influences, to guide the hearts of mortals towards a renewed sense of purpose and resilience, Fanuel adds. General, do you have a few moments? Nehiel, one of the Yazda sent to investigate Yavashael, asks as he approaches the Sarum and Arche. Excuse me, Mikhail says to the others. I will be right back. He and Nehiel step away to speak in private. What did you discover? Did you find Yavashael? Nehiel shakes his head. There were signs of a brief struggle, but we did not find him. He hands Mikhail a Warner ring. We found this on the ground beside some faint blood stains. It seems highly likely that Yavashael was killed, his body disposed of. Was there anyone else present on Leviite? Mikhail asks. No, but there had been. It appeared as though they left in quite a hurry to avoid us. We found an underground area that had been used for magical research. Several spell arrays were scratched out. Do you know what purpose those spells were used? The arrays are being studied, but whoever constructed them tried to erase them in a hurry. It is obvious that they are not spells that they would like anyone to know about. This only confirms my suspicions, Mikhail says in sadness. The second choir was being operated in secret, without any oversight or authorization. Everything Ophiel told us was a lie. We very nearly lost our victory against the Magog because of the Barakazka. That cursed weapon almost killed Enkidu. We have spoken with the other choirs and can find no record of any Ophiel current or past among their ranks. He either gave us a false name, or was a member of the second choir himself all along, Nehiel says. That does not explain how he was able to gain an audience with the cherubim, or access the armory. Without the approval of the Sarim, he should have been barred entry. Not only that, he was able to convince one of the cherubim to bring the Banu Koska to the battlefield. And that same cherubim returned after the Magog was defeated. But who could be deceitful enough to trick one of the cherubim? Nehiel asks, disturbed. We have no guarantee that the cherubim was tricked, Mikhail replies coldly. Speak with no one else about our investigations. All of you will report only to me. We do not know how deep this conspiracy goes. One of the Sarim may have been involved, giving Ophiel access to the armory. It's even possible that the cherubim themselves cannot be trusted. Mikhail returns to the meeting still in progress. Is everything all right? General Uriel asks. Mikhail nods. Merely first choir interpersonal matters. Nothing that need concern the rest of the council. Honestly, it could have waited until this meeting was over. Uriel chuckles. Our subordinates think every issue is a pressing matter, do they not? Mikhail nods. Sometimes, but we must do all we can to keep morale up. Where were we? We were discussing the next long-term assignments of the choirs, in the aftermath of the events in the Kishar realm, Haniel says. We will need to put together a survey unit to map out the new landscape and take an accurate census of all remaining life on the world, Mikhail says. Sariel reports that the underworld is backed up so badly that he will be unable to finish processing all of the dead for at least another 2 months, Fanuel says. That is disheartening, Mikhail replies. We know that Katal Takuk was spared, but do we know of any other intact human settlements? I have heard that enough of the inner wall of Jericho held fast, that many found refuge within that city, Fanuel says. There are other small pockets of humans to have survived in higher elevations, and deeper inland where the seas could not reach, Raphael adds. Mikhail nods, comforted that other humans survived, and that the species will not face extinction anytime soon. Mankind has avoided ultimate destruction, but only for a time. The Magog will always return so long as humanity continues to live for sin. Selfishness and pride will be their undoing, and all we can do is prolong the inevitable. Seeing how close they came to annihilation, will the humans not change their ways? Raphael asks. Maybe for a generation, perhaps even 2. They will not keep it up indefinitely. The memory of the threat will pass into legend or fade altogether, and man will turn to strange gods and fortification, and all manner of sorceries, idolatry, and sin. The cycle does not ever seem to end. So why does God see it fit to continue staying his hand at their demise? Vanicon of the 11th Choir asks. Would it not be best to allow the humans to perish and create a new thing, to take the place that is not so flawed? When Sane rebelled, did he destroy us all? When Satanio grew full of pride and fell, did the rest of us become devils as well? So long as he finds good in a handful of men, God will not allow the entire species to die. Raphael shakes his head. I will never understand his ways, but it is better for humanity that he decides their fate and not us. We will do whatever we can to slow humanity's descent into evil again, but it will come eventually. Wickedness is as much of their nature as charity. They are a dual-natured creature, very hard to predict. That man Enkidu, why did you help him rather than kill him for the abomination that he was? Vanicon asks. Is it not our duty to purge Nephilim from the human line? Mikhail is surprised by the question. Is my motivation not apparent? Enkidu defeated the Magog and saved those of his people that remain. That does not change the fact that he was a descendant of the Nephilim and an abomination. We have strict orders to destroy any mixed-blood creature that we should encounter. Do you not have your own assignments to worry about? Mikhail asks, aggravated. Vanicon rarely shows up for these council meetings, kept busy in the world of the Fae, Selele Taram. There, the general and his choir of fierce warriors called the Vanir hunt down and eliminate the Aesir and the Fae, beings they view as blasphemies to God's authority. I do, Vanicon growls, and that is why I cannot be here wasting my time discussing how to clean up your messes. If you cannot control the human pests, it would not take the 11th any time at all to remedy that problem. Are you calling into question my leadership ability? Mikhail asks, his hand slowly tensing around his weapon. Vanicon eyes him carefully. Serum or not, should you again allow untoward compassion for those creatures, I will be forced to bring your actions before the others and put your removal to vote. Easy, everyone, Baraccio speaks up, trying to ease the tensions. We are all still on edge. We have lost many of our valued friends and brothers. This is a difficult time for us all. We need unity, not division now. Vanicon scoffs in annoyance. Do not call for me again for these useless council meetings. You can do without my vote until my mission has been completed. With that, the general of the 11th Choir vanishes in a flash of light, to return to Seleye Taram. One by one, the other Yazda begin to disperse and go their separate ways. Was I truly wrong in using my power to aid Enkidu? Kyle wonders. Because of him, humanity persists. Would my brother adhere to doctrine at the cost of an entire species? He thinks of Haida and the children she carries within her. If they are ever discovered, they will be under constant threat of death. I did not aid Enkidu to then stand by and allow his wife and children to be executed. Mikhail returns to Kataltakuk, searching out Haida. Despite being pregnant, the stubborn young woman helps the other villagers as they repair the fire damage done to their buildings by the Sakari. Mikhail! Haida shouts, falling to her face in respect. What are you doing here, my lord? Get up, Mikhail scoffs. I am no one's lord. I have an important gift to bestow upon you. That you must promise to never take off until your children are born. Haida stands, nodding. I shall do whatever you ask. Mikhail extends a hand, giving her a pair of Warna rings. When your children are born, they must wear this and never take it off, lest the wrath of heaven fall upon them. Haida slips the ring onto her finger and looks at it in awe. These rings make the aura of a Yazata undetectable from others. Now that my brethren know Enkidu was one of the Nephilim, they will be more alert as to others. Thank you, she whispers. We shall never forget your kindness. Mikhail says no more, teleporting back to his mansion of Raul in the Anshar realm. Now, he can only wait to see the new life humans build for themselves. Maybe this time will be different. Maybe this generation will strive to carry on the way, to live morally, and prevent sin from engorging the Magog. That is all very unlikely, but one can hope that things will turn out better than feared. Epilogue 2. Jockey Island, the Pacific Ocean, located within the Dragon's Triangle. December 1998. There are many remote islands in the world where no permanent human settlements reside. The subtropical forests of Jockey remain unmolested by modern man, because navigation to the island is difficult. In addition to being within one of the world's rare triangles, where freak storms emerge and magnetism wrecks compasses, Jockey is also enchanted by Yazatan magic that makes it invisible to human sight. What truly sets Jockey apart is its profound connection to magic, as it acts as a natural amplifier, intensifying and magnifying the mystical energies that flow through the island. Jockey's topography is diverse and awe-inspiring. The island is a tapestry of rugged mountain ranges, lush valleys, and pristine beaches that stretch along its enchanting coastline. Towering peaks with mist-shrouded summits dominate the central region of the island, giving it an ethereal and otherworldly feel. These mountains, with their intricate network of trails and hidden caves, often become sanctuaries for magical beings, seeking solitude or a place to hone their skills. The island's verdant forests are an enchanting sight to behold. They are filled with ancient trees that have stood for centuries, their branches entwined with vibrant mosses and trailing vines. The foliage is a vibrant mosaic of greens ranging from deep emerald to lime and chartreuse. Sunlight filters through the canopy, creating a dappled play of light and shadow on the forest floor, where colorful mushrooms and delicate flowers bloom. Jockey's flora is a testament to its magical essence. The island boasts a diverse array of plant life, some of which can only be found within its mystical boundaries. Exquisite orchards with petals that shimmer like precious gemstones grace the understory, while towering ferns unfurl their delicate fronds in the cool, damp air. Rare and peculiar plants with mystical properties thrive in hidden groves, their leaves and flowers pulsating with vibrant hues and emanating subtle magical auras. Jockey was once home to the vibrant community of Fae, and though their presence has diminished, remnants of their influence can still be found. Abandoned shrines, once sacred and revered, now lie in ruins overgrown with vines and moss. These ancient structures scattered throughout the island serve as poignant reminders of the Fae's once thriving existence and the powerful magic that flowed through their veins. "This forest is disgusting," Inyana complains, removing a large beetle from her lavender-colored skin. "Tell me again why I cannot burn it to ash." Her companion, a very human-looking man, replies, "These natural deterrents are needed to keep the shrine hidden. Humans may be unable to see this island, but other beings do not have that same barrier." "What is so important here that it needs all this protection to keep it hidden?" she asks, cutting through the thick foliage with a machete. "Cedrion was adamant about it being necessary to his plans." "He did not tell you why he sent you here to aid me?" Kazura asks. Inyana shakes her head. "As vague as he ever is." "It would seem that the Yazda say nothing unless it is carefully constructed to further their goals. Even I do not fully understand his motivations, and I have been working with him for months. What I understand is that I do not wish to be returned to hell, so I shall do whatever it is the Yazda require," Inyana growls, the mere thought of being the pawn of another eating at her pride. "Don't worry, my queen," Kazura says. "The Yazda too shall get what is coming to them in time." The pair finally reaches a clearing where an ancient shrine rests, half hidden by undergrowth and vines. 2 stone obelisks mark the location, guarded by the statue of a massive 6-winged cherubim. "Do not proceed any further," Kazura warns, pointing to the bones of several demons lying scattered across the area. "The statue will animate should one come too close." "So it is impossible to enter the shrine?" Inyana asks with frustration. Kazura nods. "For us, yes. Only humans possessing the blood of the Nephilim may go any further. Any demon or Sakari will only activate the statue's defensive programming." "A spell?" Inyana asks, wondering how the statue can remain active for so many millennia. Kazura shrugs. "Perhaps. I do not know for sure. I am not too well versed in divine arcana. If we cannot enter the shrine, why have the Yazda brought us to this island?" "You are here as bait," Kazura grins, unnerving the Sakari queen. "There is one who may enter the shrine that will be lured to the island with the desire to face both you and Grand General Hui in combat." "My brother's vessel?" Inyana seems surprised. "He is descended of the Yazata?" "It does not matter how many generations pass," Kazura explains. "The blood of the giants does not ever completely disappear. That boy shall gain the strength necessary to pass the trials within the shrine and claim for us the treasure hidden deep inside. The child fancies himself a hero. He will never hand over any Yazatan artifact to us. We shall give the boy no other choice, my queen. The battles on this island will be fierce, and his hand will be forced. The Banu Casca will be ours, and with it, the glory of Averno shall once again befall our eyes. You will address me as Queen. Refer to my brother and Hui as if you know them, and speak of the glory of our world, yet I still do not know who you are, Inyana observes suspiciously. Is your identity one that I should be familiar with? Kazura smiles, having expected this question to come sooner or later. My queen, it is true that we have met before. 10,000 years ago I survived the suicide of a scouting expedition that you ordered against the humans. Few of us actually survived, yet I was fortunate enough to be among them. You probably remember me as a criminal and a murderer, yet I have become so much more here in the human world. There are a great many things you have left to learn, my queen. Once we have the Banu Casca in our possession, everything will be made clear. She eyes him suspiciously. In Osria? I did not know that you survived. Your vessel does not seem the same age as the ones that I have previously discarded. And I do not sense any Sakari energy coming from you whatsoever. Unlike you and your generals, I was not imprisoned. My curse was much more painful. Those who finally defeated me scattered my essence across the entire world. I was ripped apart, feeling myself all around yet still alive. Over time, I was slowly able to coalesce enough of my essence together to be reborn, Kazura says, holding his arms out. However, I am still not yet complete. Not until we have the Banu Casca will I be able to draw together the rest of my spirit. The trials guarding the Banu Casca will be difficult. Your brother's vessel will not be able to survive without becoming much stronger. Cedrion has planned for the island to serve as a sort of training grounds to grow its power. You will accomplish this by using a modified version of Sio Kaminare. Inyana nods. We have a lot of work to do before my brother's vessel can arrive. I shall spread the word of the Banu Casca and draw out the most powerful creatures that I can.